Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for All Stars 10 episode 8, and the guests this week were Denali and Tina Burner. So today we're going to be talking about why Denali walked off stage after the lip sync. Tina Burner says Mistress Isabel Brooks is a, quote, horrible person, and Denali speaks out on the alleged favoritism towards Ginger Minj in this bracket. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, if you enjoy these videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's a free and quick way to support my channel, and I'd love to get to 150k subscribers by the end of the year, but I need your help to do that, so please make sure you hit subscribe. Thank you! So they started off with Naysha asking a question, which she asks all of the guests, which was it a quick decision for them to say yes to All Stars, or did they have to think about it first? Tina said it was a quick decision for her to say yes, and she said you saw her on season 13, so it was a, quote, no-brainer. Tina continued that she had something to prove, and she's grown so much since Drag Race. Even though she'd been doing drag for a long time, she learnt a lot from her experience on the show. She also joked that when she saw her makeup in HD, she thought, quote, we're gonna fix that. She also said that when they presented the opportunity for All Stars 10 to her, the way they presented it was that it's only 3 episodes, so you won't have to be away for as long, which was good for Tina because she was working in Provincetown over the summer at the time, so she wouldn't have to take so much time off for filming. Naysha said Tina did an amazing job on All Stars 10, and Denali agreed, and said that it was great to see her season 13 sister do so well, and regardless of all of the, quote, effery that goes on with the production of it all, Tina was perfect, and everyone clapped and cheered for Tina. Denali then said for her, it was easy to say yes to All Stars. Although people always asked her when she would be on All Stars, she realised she needed a bit more time to develop, because when she was on season 13, she had only been doing drag for around 2 years. But she now feels like she's ready to go back to All Stars, which is why she said yes this time. And she had already decided 7 months before the calls for All Stars went out that this was going to be the year that she would go back to All Stars. Denali also confirmed that they had asked her a few times for All Stars before that, and later in the viewing party she clarified that she was asked for All Stars 8 as well as one of the global seasons, but she can't remember which one. Denali added that generally these are unofficial conversations or whispers that they get from production, and they're not necessarily official invitations. Whereas Tina joked that unlike Denali, this was the first time she had been asked to come to All Stars. But Tina added that it's hard because if you say no to All Stars once, you may risk never being asked again in the future. Naysha said that it was their loss that they hadn't asked Tina for All Stars before this one. Naysha also added that in her opinion, there are 2 types of people that they want for All Stars, which are queens that will play the game, and others are the ones that you can F with and pull a fast one on. They moved on to the main challenge for this week, which was a girl group challenge to write verses to a country-themed song called Stagecoach. And Naysha asked Denali what the mood was like in the room during this challenge. Denali said she was really excited for a songwriting challenge and she knew that this would be her week. She added that you're supposed to write verses for both songs, and I presume she means you write the verses in advance, and then in the workroom you decide which version of the song you'll do. Well, Denali shared that she wrote about 4 or 5 different verses for each version of the song, and then she, quote, handed my papers in and was like, just pick whichever one is good, they're all good. Denali said that she was really excited for this week's challenge because it was performance-based, whereas in the first week it was a design challenge, so she was just trying to get through it. And although she doesn't mind a design challenge, she likes it when it's, quote, judged, especially when it's based on the designs. And she emphasised the word design when she said it, which sounded a bit like she was maybe throwing a bit of shade, implying that the design challenge last week was not actually judged based on the designs. And some people in the audience at Roscoe's gasped and laughed a bit when she said it. Naysha then sarcastically said she was confused and what did Denali mean, and Denali also laughed. Denali elaborated that as Daya and Acid kind of explained last week when they were at Roscoe's, when they were given the design challenge, the comedy part of the challenge, which was the voiceover and the storyline, was presented as the primary part of the challenge. However, Denali said that that didn't really translate in the episode that we saw on TV, presumably because they focused more on the actual outfits themselves during judging, even though the queens were kind of led to believe that the comedy part was actually the main focus of the challenge. So because of that, when Ginger and Daya won, the other queens understood because their comedy part was probably the best. However, in Denali's opinion, Ginger's look was not the strongest, so she thinks the audience was really confused that Ginger won, but the comedy part of the challenge was emphasized to the queens, so that might be why. However, Denali said that if it was based on the looks themselves, she thinks that she and Acid would have won, and everyone clapped and cheered. Denali added that she thinks that the guest judges, which were Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, were not explained that the comedy part of the challenge was what had been emphasized to the queens, because apparently even Ariana and Cynthia were confused when the winners were announced because they had said previously how much they loved Denali's look. Denali finished by saying that a lot of times on Drag Race, the prompts that they give the queens are not necessarily the prompts that we see in the episode. And she said that All Stars are, quote, very smart in the way they hybrid the challenges, such as combining both design and comedy, because when it comes time to judging, quote, the judges can decide which ones they want to emphasize. Naysha then said that she loves Denali's choice of words, and let's call it what it actually is, which is produced. Denali said it's a reality TV show, and every reality TV show is produced, and when the queens agree to come back, they are also agreeing that they are taking part in a produced TV show. Tina then said, it's a bit like when they call it a rap in roast and you rap but then you get in trouble for it. Denali agreed and said it's a rap in roast, so they can decide if they emphasize the rapping part or the roast part. Tina joked that she did both and she still got, quote, passed over for it, and people laughed. They moved on and there was a VIP question for Denali, which was, how obvious was it on set that this was Ginger's bracket? And people gasped and laughed in the audience when this question was asked. Naysha said it was not subtle at all, presumably meaning the favoritism, and she said that Denali's answer should not be subtle either, and Denali laughed. Denali said that she will repeat what she has been saying to herself as well as other people, which is, quote, this is RuPaul's Drag Race. It is a formatted, biased television show with a lot of subjective judging. And she also added that it's literally woven into the fabric of Drag Race for it to favour certain individuals and people who are really good at the show, and RuPaul loves and vibes with their humour. Denali then said that if she had walked in there and all of the challenges were things like an ice skating challenge or a reggaeton song challenge or a dance challenge, she would also think, quote, those things are kind of skewed towards Denali. Interesting. Which was kind of implying that maybe the challenges on this bracket are very skewed towards Ginger. Although this is just a guess based on what Denali said. Denali also said that the audience are not unintelligent and that they've been part of the show for a long time, so you can understand it. However, Denali said that Ginger Minj is extremely good at Drag Race, and Denali does not want to take away her ability to do really well on the show. And the issue is that the fan base always want things to be black and white, but often two things can exist at once. The show is built to favour people, but those people can also be really good at the show. And she said that's all she'll say about it. Naysha added that we shouldn't diminish someone's hard work either, because you can't go on Drag Race and not work hard, and Ginger did not go into the competition saying that she was their favourite and you have to choose her. It's the show and the producers who do that, and Naysha said if you watch the credits of the show and has the names of the producers on screen, such as Randy, RuPaul, Mandy, Tom and Fenton, go and send them your thoughts, but don't go after Ginger because it's not her fault, and people clapped and cheered. Caramel then asked Tina if she felt a similar way about the favoritism on her bracket. Tina answered that she was lucky that the first week was a design challenge because she knew that she would do well at that and they wouldn't be able to say anything about it. But as time went on, you could tell that, quote, certain people were favoured and certain people got away with a lot more. Tina then said, quote, Mistress is great TV, she's a horrible person, and everyone laughed. Caramel said, it's like what Denali said earlier about two things can be true at the same time, and everyone laughed again. Tina added that Mistress is a, quote, master manipulator and I'm in awe of it, but it doesn't mean she's a good person. Although Tina kind of smiled when she said it, so I don't know if she meant it that seriously. They talked more about the challenge for this week's episode and the looks that the queens were wearing during the performance. Naysha asked more about this because usually they tell you in advance what outfits to bring, but they don't always say whether it will be for a runway or a performance, so she asked Denali what they were told. Denali said that they just told them they needed to bring a country look, and they only got told that 2 days before they were supposed to leave to go and film. So from that, Denali assumed that the outfit would probably be for a girl group or a performance of some kind, because by that point, all of their runways had already been sorted because it was so last minute. They talked a bit more about the performance outfits, and Batty Davis mentioned that Denali's team's looks were really well matched, so did they get to decide the colour? Denali just said it was just something that they happened to have with them, but Denali shared that for the other group, Ginger had the purple country look, but the other two didn't have anything purple, and because Ginger didn't have anything else that she brought with her other than this purple look, Daya and Cynthia completely changed their looks so that they would match with Ginger. Apparently, Daya stayed up late sewing parts of their outfits so that they could all have matching parts of their outfits for the performance. And that was interesting because I actually saw a bit more information about this outside of Roscoe's on Twitter. So I saw on Twitter the other day that after the episode came out, a user tweeted a video of Daya when she got emotional during Untucked, and they said that things got emotional in Untucked, especially for Daya Betty, who received such kind words from Cynthia Lee Fontaine. Daya then retweeted this post and said, the night before our group challenge, I was up late sewing pieces for our group outfits. Then a PA knocked on my door with cookies and soda in hand. He said, Cuckoo wants to make sure you had these. She knows how hard you've been working and didn't want your blood sugar to go low. Daya followed this up with another tweet that said, I ugly cried in my hotel for about 30 minutes. Cynthia really is an angel on earth. And I just thought this was such an interesting but also lovely story which gives some good context, and I just wanted to include it in this video. But going back to Roscoe's, they talked about each of the Queen's performances in the challenge, and when they got to Ginger, they all said she did a great job. Cara then said, quote, the challenge was made for her, and Denali laughed and said, quote, y'all said it, not me, and agreed that Ginger was great. They then moved on to the runway looks for this week, and the category was Night of 1,000 Miley Cyruses. For some of the looks, some people said they didn't really like them and thought that some of the outfits were a bit of an unusual option to pick for a Miley runway. Naysha asked if they all had to submit their looks beforehand, and Denali said yes. Naysha explained that what happens sometimes is you don't get to do your first or second option because someone else has already picked that reference, so you have to change it, and you don't always have a lot of time to get ready. Denali agreed and said as soon as she found out it was a Miley runway, she emailed them straight away saying she wanted to do this particular look so that she could get in there before anyone else did. Tina shared that for her bracket, presumably she was talking about the Little Shop of Horrors runway, she said that there were 4 people that wanted to do a Venus flytrap look, and so they had to tell a bunch of queens no. Naysha then spilled some tea about something similar that happened to her on All Stars 8, which I believe she has talked about previously at Roscoe's, which was, for the Grace Jones runway, she submitted the look that she wanted to do, but production said, oh, this one is taken, but apparently they said it in a weird way. So Naysha submitted a second option, and they said that that one was also taken as well. So when Naysha submitted the third option, the producer, who she said she won't name because she doesn't want to get them into into trouble and she really likes them, but they said that look was also taken. They then told Naysha that they were actually holding all 3 of those looks for one particular queen, but Naysha didn't want to say which queen it was. However, Naysha then said that they emailed her later to say those options had then been released, but by that point Naysha had already chosen a different runway. They then talked about Denali's runway look for this week, and Cara asked where Denali got the foam finger from, and Denali said Amazon. But Cara clarified that what she meant was, where did Denali pull the foam finger from, because she took off her outfit and then the next thing we saw she had the foam finger. Denali said she had a dresser who set the stage up for her, so she told them at stage right she's going to drop the backpack, so on stage left I'd like you to put the foam finger there so I can pick it up. So this was all choreographed, and Cara said that was interesting because she didn't think that we've ever heard that before. They then watched the lip sync between the top 2, which were Denali and Ginger was announced as the winner, which became a very controversial decision on social media after the episode aired, and I'll go through more of the reaction in depth in my Have Your Say video later this week, so make sure you check that out when it comes out. At Roscoe's, everyone got on their feet and cheered for Denali, and they all shouted that Denali won the lip sync. Denali then got emotional because of all of the support from the audience. Naysha said that Denali killed the lip sync, and Cara said it's discouraging when someone gets on and kills the lip sync, but then we see them, quote, play in our faces, presumably meaning that they felt that the outcome had been rigged in Ginger's favour. Naysha said it was, quote, foolery, and, quote, how dare you, and this is the part that pees her off because it's one thing to produce things, but when you see someone like Denali who does a great job and is clearly a front runner, and then they, quote, pull a stunt like that. Naysha then said, quote, produce, do your effing job, but the job is supposed to be that we don't know you're producing. Naysha joked that next week she would get all of the email addresses of the producers and put them up on screen so people can email them with their thoughts. She also said she knows the producers do watch Roscoe's because when she was at DragCon once, one of the top producers came to Naysha and repeated something that Naysha had said about them at Roscoe's. They then asked Denali how she was feeling after the lip sync. Denali said that she's had about 11 months to sit and process all of this, but everyone else has these emotions right now because they've just seen it and it's a lot fresher, so she understands the passion and the heat some people are feeling. Denali said in the moment when they announced that Ginger won the lip sync, she felt, quote, extremely upset, I was really mad, I was really disappointed. But as she said earlier, 2 things can exist at the same time. She knew immediately that she needed some space, so she said that she walked off stage. Just for those of you who may not know, I did see that some people had talked about this on social media and pointed this out because you may have missed it in the episode because it happened so quickly. But if you look at the end of the episode when they do the part of let the music play and all the queens dance on stage, if you look closely, you can see that when the other queens are dancing, Denali is already walking off stage. And then in the next shot, 5 of the queens are standing by the entrance of the runway, but Denali is not there, presumably because she had already walked off stage at that point. And online, people were theorising that Denali walked off stage because she was upset about not winning the lip sync. But back to Roscoe's, Denali said that she walked off stage because she knew she needed space, and she did all of her processing within about 5 seconds. And then, as we saw in Untucked, when the queens came off stage and talk about how they felt, Denali had already done the processing almost immediately, and she congratulated Ginger on winning because, quote, you just got to manage your emotions on TV and things like that, and I didn't want to come off as ungrateful. Denali added that at the end of the day, she's not going to be mad because she was still in the top and did an incredible challenge, and everyone clapped for Denali. Denali then said that regardless of how people prefer their lip syncs, she knows that she ate that lip sync up, which the others agreed with. She said she approached it with the same mindset that she did for the 100% Pure Love lip sync from season 13, which was that it was semi-choreographed and she balances her tricks out so it looks like a nice packaged performance. Denali added that she had seen that online some people said that Denali was doing too much, and it was similar to when Kenya Michaels lip-synced against Latrice Royale, and Kenya was doing a lot of twirls and tricks, whereas Latrice was embodying the song. The others said that that was BS, and Denali also said she calls BS on that comparison because the lip sync between Latrice and Kenya was to the Aretha Franklin song Natural Woman, and they were pregnant in the runway because that was the runway category. Denali said that that song calls for standing in one spot and doing a park and bark lip sync. Whereas her lip sync against Ginger was to the 2007 Miley Cyrus song See You Again, which is a pop punk dance song, so she danced. Denali also said that online people were saying that Denali was at 100 the entire time and she should have spaced it out more, and she looked a fool. Nasia then said, quote, "Those 13-year-olds can go F themselves." Denali continued that they're going on Drag Race, which means you have to give it your all because you never know if you're going to be able to do it again. So, quote, "I gave my all from the very beginning. Whether you like that or not, that is the lip sync style I will always give you." And everyone clapped and shouted that they loved Denali. Denali said that on another note, about a verse, chorus and bridge were cut out of what we saw in the edit of the lip sync, and it was heavily edited down. Denali mentioned that as a lot of people have pointed out online, she did a 360 split and it was right after a confessional and there was no music. And a lot of people online said that this was shady editing.
It's a close call.
And she said that that happens to be the same spot that she did for a separate trick that happened for the final chorus of the song, implying that the editing made it look different than it actually was in the full performance. So a lot of people said that all Denali did were tricks, but she said, as we all know, Drag Race does what they need to do with the lip syncs. However, the hosts at Roscoe said no, they want to go back and discuss it more because Denali literally choreographed and did so many amazing things. Nasia said she heard beats in the song that she had never even realised were there before because Denali hit those beats during the lip sync, which Denali said she did on purpose and it was part of her preparation because she likes to emphasise the musicality of her lip syncs. Denali did say she thinks that Ginger did a good lip sync, but compared to Ginger's previous lip syncs, she wasn't sure if that was Ginger's quote finest park and bark, and she makes Ru laugh and she'll make the faces and do the things that make RuPaul laugh. Denali added that she thinks that over time, the performance style that RuPaul prefers has changed. Back in COVID, she loved a high-energy bucking queen because they were fresh out of lockdown and we just wanted to see a good drag show, and the others agreed. Nasia then finished by saying that Denali may not have won the lip sync on the show, but she has won the hearts of the fans, and everyone clapped and cheered for Denali. Denali said she'll always prioritise making the fans happy over everything else. They moved on to the Q&A and someone asked Denali, did not winning the first challenge when she clearly should have affect her confidence and that the final 3 were already predetermined? Denali shared that something happened on set which they haven't showed yet, which was that she, Ginger and Daya had a conversation where they said that they had a feeling that they might be the 3 that would make it through to the next round, so maybe they should help each other out, but they haven't aired that part yet. And so people talk about the predetermined top 3, but at that point Denali wasn't sure. But she said that after the first episode, she was really happy with the critiques that she got because she got the best feedback from Ariana, Cynthia, and also Law Roach. Nasia said that she thinks Denali is what she calls a, quote, disruptor, which is someone who goes on and disrupts the plan that production already have because the queen is so good that it messes with how the producers thought that the season would go. There was then a question that Acid Betty had left for Tina from last week, which was, does Tina think she would have advanced to the semi-finals if there was not a point system like the NVQ? Tina said yes because she gave her all and she isn't being cocky, but she knows that she did well in the challenges and did her best. Tina also said that she stayed true to herself and didn't give in to the drama and, quote, I am too effing old, I have done too much of my effing life to let some children try and turn me into a person that I don't want to be, and everyone clapped for Tina. And finally, an audience member asked Tina, would she rather have been a production favourite and be on her way towards $200,000, or would she rather embrace her status as a robbed queen that everyone loves? Tina said who's to say that she isn't on her way to the $200,000? Presumably what she meant is because one of the eliminated queens gets to be chosen to come back to the competition, although it's not been said who that is. But Tina said that she's happy that she got to show people what she can do. She then reached into her bra and pulled out a piece of paper and said that if she was ever on stage, she would show and bring this as a receipt. She explained that it was a note which Lydia had written for Tina, which said, "To Tina, Tina did not start the drama by saying there should be points stolen, signed Lydia Brooks Collins." And everyone clapped and cheered for Tina. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10 Episode 8. Who do you think won the lip sync between Denali and Ginger? And do you think that production actually predetermines the top 3? Let me know in the comments. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Patreons Danny and Debs. Danny recently joined in the You're a Winner Baby tier, and Debs upgraded to the Queen of Queens tier. Danny and Debs, you are both absolute legends. If you'd like early access to my videos, access to the exclusive Patreon chat, as well as exclusive content, please consider checking out my Patreon. It just costs a few dollars a month and it really helps support the channel. And I'll put a link to my Patreon in the description. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all of my new Patreon members, as well as my incredible existing Patreon members. Your support is truly so amazing, and I'm thankful every day to have such an amazing community. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your support more than you know. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help boost it in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like this video and want to be notified when I post more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.